Welcome to the Trade Titans Podcast, the show that brings you real stories, proven strategies, and expert insights from the top leaders in the trades. I'm your host, Zach, founder of UpScale Media, where we help trades and service businesses scale predictably in just 12 months without adding more to their plate. On this podcast, we dive deep into what's working right now for successful trade businesses, the biggest challenges facing the industry, and the real-world strategies that help companies break through the revenue ceilings. Today, I'm excited to have Hugo Felix on the show. Hugo is the owner of TopChoice Paint Stain, a residential painting and staining company based in Grand Junction, Colorado. He started his painting career at 19 and launched his own business in 2021. Over the past few years, he's grown exponentially, tripling his business from 2023 to 2024. Now he's focused on scaling strategically, building a strong brand for his community, and transitioning from working in his business to working on his business. We're going to talk about his journey in the trades, what's working for him in terms of growth, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Hugo, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Zach, how's it going, man? Thanks a lot for having me. It's a blessing and definitely a privilege to be on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm stoked to chat with you some more. So let's start with your journey. What got you into painting and what led you to start your own company?
Well, I guess it all really started. So I'm 30 years old now, but it started when I was about 19 years old. At the time, I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Like you said, we're located in Grand Junction, Colorado right now. But yeah, I mean, it was honestly, I was just I tried the college thing for a little bit, went for about a semester, and, it just wasn't really for me. So I was kind of just working little jobs here and there. And, sure enough, one of my roommates ended up started painting for a small company. And one by one, the company needed some help. So started with one buddy, and then it went to my roommate. And then my roommate was like, "Hey, Hugo, you want to start painting with us?" So I just kind of fell into it. It was higher paying job than what I was doing at the time. So I just started doing that. And then at about 21 years old. So I painted for about 2 years. And then in those 2 years, I was able to work my way up to being the crew lead. So after that, we moved actually to Colorado about 2 years later when I turned 21. And to be honest, I didn't really want to paint that much. I wanted to try something different. It was a new state, a new city, new people. So I figured, hey, let's try something new. So I was kind of just working a couple other jobs in those 2 years, but come 19 COVID hit, I really kind of started thinking like, what do I want to do? Everyone's getting laid off right now. Everything, the job market's unpredictable, and there was just so much happening at that time. So that's when it really kind of entered my brain. Like, I don't know, maybe I should start a painting business. I know how to do that, right? So about 2 years passed, and it really wasn't until about 2021 that I just finally decided to pull the trigger, burn the boats, quit my job before I really had much booked, and then to just fully kind of commit to the painting. And it's been great ever since. I think my first year it was just me and my fiance working, and I think we did a little under 50K in revenue. But for me that was huge. I had like no overhead, so I pretty much got to take 90% of that to myself. It was nice. I, over doubled my income for what I was making at the time, and then just slowly been trying to grow since then. And here in May, we'll be on our 4th year. So that's exciting. That's very exciting. So, and then last year, I mean, like you mentioned in the intro, from 2023 to 2024, we were able to exponentially grow, and we tripled in business. So that was super exciting.
That's super cool, man. Yeah, I'm like, that's great. Happy to hear that. Yeah, and that was kind of leads in the next question. How has TopChoice Paint Stain really evolved since you started?
At first it was just me and my girlfriend, my fiance now. We just started us two, and then we found out that she was pregnant. That was within 3 months of us starting the business. So right away, I took her off the brush, I took her off the ladder and all that stuff. And she was just kind of helping me with some of the office stuff like that. So that was year one. Year two, I had some help. Year two, I basically had someone side by side with me for pretty much most of the year. going from by myself to having somebody else with me, that means I obviously had more work. So that was good. I was able to kind of get my sales up and just kind of get noticed a little bit more from the community where we live at here. They pretty much combine about 4 or 5 towns together, but it's about like 150,000 in population. So, the names that are already here, the painting companies that are already here are well established, and most of the successful ones are people who've been here. So, I've just been trying to get obviously my brand and get noticed a little bit more. So that starts happening in year 2. And then in year 3, again, I still had someone kind of working side by side with me, but then I slowly started subcontracting out jobs because I was just kind of getting overworked, just too much to do, running the sales, the marketing, the office, all that kind of stuff. So I just decided I need some help. I need some other people to start helping me paint. So I'm still working on the brush, and I had a guy working with me, and then I just kind of started finding some crews here in town that I could work with. And then as far as this year goes, my goal is to completely be off the brush here by March and just kind of more or less have a subcontractor model where, I'm able to work on the sales and marketing and, the production and the quality of each job. But my goal is to not physically be doing the painting much anymore because it's pretty much bottlenecked myself last year and I could feel it mentally and physically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Working on your business versus working in it is a whole nother ball game, and that's kind of the dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the goal. December we took a 3-week vacation in December because as most people know, painting's pretty seasonal. And yeah, they say a real business is when you can leave for a couple weeks and your business gets bigger. So ultimately that is the goal. So I'm hoping that's how
The
it'll
fishing,
start being
yeah,
these next couple
the
years.
fishing test, yeah. Can you go fishing for a week or so and everything keeps rolling?
Yep, exactly. That's what we're working
Yeah.
towards. We got to still put some systems in place and, find the right people. But yeah, that's definitely where we're wanting to head.
So you touched on this in what you were just saying, but you're growing a business in kind of a tight-knit community, and that I'm sure can be tough. What have been the biggest challenges in making a name for yourself there in Grand Junction?
Making a name for myself. Well, so this is the smallest place I've ever lived. I grew up in the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, which is a metro area. Actually went to school about 5 minutes from the Mall of America. So being in a community where it's, with 5 towns, it's like 150,000 people. I would just say it's just kind of more or less getting recognized and getting your name out there because, there's these larger companies that are the staple here. They've had their foothold here. They've kind of cut out their little slice of the market. And, when an unknown name, especially in the trades, is coming on the block, like myself, who's been kind of trying to make a name here for these past couple years, I guess it just makes people kind of second guess. They're like, who is this? Being in a smaller community, I've really learned to realize that, the bad word gets around twice as fast as the good word, and people are a little hesitant to try a new company, because there's the companies that are already established here. Most of the owners are, probably in their late 30s, mid 40s. There's a couple younger companies with young owners like myself, but they've been here. They know everybody. It's one of the towns where, people know the last names, stuff like that. So I guess to really answer your question, it's giving a new option for people and kind of, building that trust with them and having a solid relationship. But overall, I would say it's the trust because they're used to these names that they've seen with these people who've, been here for a little while. And then, they're that's just what they're used to. So when someone new comes on the block and, painting, you're really in, sometimes you're really in people's personal space. If you're painting the interior of their home, or maybe you're painting some of my clients, their children's bedrooms, there's got to be some trust built there. So, being the newer company, I'd say it's just building that trust and establishing the brand because the other companies that are here have done that pretty well already.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. New kid, new block. Everybody trusts, who they've seen and been around for a while. You got to really find a way to stand out and make that name for yourself amongst all the other guys. Exactly. Yeah, that can be tough, man.
Exactly.
So when we spoke previously, transitioning from like a subcontractor model to more of this hybrid approach in the future, what's driving that shift?
Well, I am at this point in time, I'm still early in building the painting business, but I think at some point, I think part of the dream for anyone building a business is to ultimately sell it, right? To kind of have your out per se. And I think more or less that the reason why I'm looking to probably do that down the road is if I ever do decide to sell. I know that, companies can be valued a little bit more when you've got some employees versus just subcontractors and no employees. So right now, I'm not looking to sell or do anything. I'm looking to build this thing and, kind of have it be my golden goose for right now. But if, in 20 years, I decide that I end up wanting to sell, then I'm confident that I'd probably be able to get a better return on everything, all the time and effort I've invested in building the company versus with having that. That means most, any large painting company, they are going to have employees as far as office managers, they're going to have their PMs, project managers, they're going to have salesmen, stuff like that. So that's kind of a given. But what I'm talking about is probably maybe down the road hiring painters so that I've got, a couple employees, maybe 4, 5, 6 employees of painters that I'm constantly keeping busy. Because the nice thing with subcontractors, anyone who's familiar with the model is, you kind of give them work, and if you don't have anything for them, then you don't have it at the moment. But you don't really have that weight on your back as much as you would an employee, because if you have someone employed, it's your responsibility as the business owner to be keeping them busy and make sure you have work for them to do. Versus subcontractor, these are guys who, they're great at what they do, they're good at the craft, but they maybe don't necessarily want to market. They don't want to do office work. They don't really want to, handle all the customer stuff. So it's nice to, I can come in and do all that, and then I can kind of hand off just the labor aspect to these subcontractors while I'll handle the whole business aspect and do that. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question. Kind of went a little long there, but yeah, I think that's, for right now, that's kind of where I'm at. But if down the road, I think my first hire is probably going to be a project manager.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I totally understand. You don't feel that weight on your shoulders with keeping those guys busy so that, one, they're making a paycheck to fulfill their needs. They got families and mortgages or whatever else. So, if you're in that spot to have guys kind of come in as you need them and then let them go, I totally understand that subcontractor model there. Taking that next step or that leap of having guys full time, hiring project manager, then having the steady leads coming in so that your guys have all that work and you can keep them making the business money, keep them getting a good steady paycheck. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great answer.
Exactly.
So what's the biggest mindset shift you've had to make as a business owner to get to where you are today, would you say?
I mean, just hanging in there, man. I'd say just needing more resilience. That's a big thing for me, is hanging on in there and fighting through just what business throws at you, because you don't really know what you're getting into until you just do it. You got to make that leap. Whatever business you're in, it looks easier from the outside, but once you actually get engulfed into it and you just commit, you realize all these other little things that kind of come in. And, I don't think you're a real business owner if you've never thought about quitting a couple times because of, what it can do. That's part of it. Like they always say, not everyone's meant to be a business owner, but not everyone's meant to be employee. We need them both. They play huge roles in our world and our economy, but there's just two different kinds of people. And for me, it's just really been, just knowing what you want. You got to remind yourself every day, every week of why you're even doing this. Why are you going through all this trouble? Why are you going through these, all this head trash that we all have from time to time about whatever we're doing? And it's just been, shut that up. It's kind of the devil and the angel on your shoulder. And you just got to listen to that angel on the shoulder because it's worth it. And, I know why I'm doing this. Everyone has a different why of why they're doing whatever they are. But I just try to remind myself of that through thick and thin, because there's a lifestyle that I want to attain. It's not just all about money and vacations and cars and all that, but when you don't really have to think about finances, it makes life a whole lot easier. And I'm not quite there yet, but that's where I aspire to be. So a big mindset change is just like, keep going, trust the process, as long as you're getting in the reps, you're actually doing what it takes, you're looking to improve, you're checking your numbers, you're seeing where you need to grow, you're seeing what's effective, then I think that you'll be on the right track as long as you're kind of doing those things. Anyone can just kind of sit around and expect whatever their leads or sales to come in, but that's not really how it works. You got to really get out there, get your feet dirty, get your hands dirty, and make things happen. So it's just been keeping resilient and knowing that if I trust the process, I keep doing the things that I know I need to do, that, it's going to work.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. Take note on that, guys. There's a lot of good nuggets in there for sure. Yeah, sometimes it's one thing to just take that leap and go into business for yourself. It's another to persevere when things get tough. The work doesn't seem to be coming in. Things don't seem to be going your way. Like you said, it's almost like you can't be a true business owner if you haven't thought about quitting a few times.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's great, man. So you said you tripled your business. What do you think has been the biggest driver of that success?
Well, I keep track of all my jobs and stuff, like I think most people should be doing in the trades, how much you're selling, how much each job is, how much each job costs you to produce, just basic job costing. So after, I would say after my second year, I'm just like, I was doing a lot of the painting and I grew from the year before, but I was like, all right, this is like, I'm getting pretty busy, and I was comfortable, I had somewhere to go every day. I was making great money for myself, but I was still doing all the labor. I didn't have as much leads and stuff coming in, but the jobs I was selling, I was making great money because I was working by myself. I've done exteriors by myself of a full 2-story house that take me 2.5, almost 3 weeks on my own. I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that, but that at the time I was fine. I'm like, I got a job here for 3 weeks. I'm good. I don't need to book anything else. So I got a little complacent, but after the second year, I'm like, well, I can make something happen here. I got something here. So I started looking into business coaching, and I'd say for sure the biggest driver is, following what my coaches say. So I am in a coaching program for my business, because I was like, I look at it this way: even the best at anyone in the world, they have a coach for what they do. Derek Jeter, he was the best at what he did at the time, or one of the greats, but guess what? He still had a coach. So to me, I was like, the best business owners, the people that I aspire to be like or have a businesses like, they have business coaches, they have mentors, they have people they talk to. So I'm like, boom, right away. Like I'm good at listening and putting in action. So I joined this coaching program that's specifically for painters. Shout out to Painting Business Pro. It's a company here out of Denver. And the gentleman whose company it is, I had just been seeing his stuff on YouTube. Great stuff. And I implemented a lot of it in my business. And I was like, dude, I wonder this is the free stuff this guy's giving out. Let me check out the paid. Yeah. So I joined that coaching program, and, like I said, I'm kind of listening to them. I was already doing a lot of the stuff that they implemented, or that they were kind of coaching us to do. But a big thing is just, refining my sales process is huge. That was a huge factor, I'd say, for sure. And then building up my SEO online on Google, particularly, as well. That kind of, with that gave me more leads. And then I knew with more leads, that doesn't obviously mean more sales. I had to refine my sales process. So a lot of it had to do with my SEO, refining that, redoing my sales process completely differently, how I used to do it. Instead of just showing up, I've got different things that we do now. And then from there, just, treating customers like, their friends and family. Just great customer service overall. I think did a lot for me. And with that, I just try to we try to do the best we can for every job we're at. Most companies obviously do that, but that I know for sure that's been a driving factor for my growth these past couple years is just providing a different kind of service to my clients. Because everyone aspires to do good customer service and this and that, but there's the little things that matter, and those are the things that I try to stick out on with my clients to where they remember. So anytime they need a painting or stain job, they're like, "Oh, the TopChoice Paint Stain, Hugo and his crew, they were great." And it's the little things, it's just picking stuff up, leaving the job site clean every day, just the little stuff, showing up on time, communicating well, not being outrageously priced, being presentable. I don't know if I said show up on time, but yeah, that's just a huge one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ultimately, to answer the question, it's just following what my coaches say in the program, refining my sales process, and just ultimately building up that lead flow with my SEO.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great segue to where we're headed. I wanted to kind of see if you'd be willing to maybe share kind of a high level on some of those changes that you made in your sales process that had a good effect.
Well, I mean, the easiest thing is just how you answering the phone. You'd be surprised.
Just answer the phone to
Answering
start.
the phone is huge. I mean, anyone who is listening to this or whatever, it's like call a couple different tradesmen and see how many answer. It depends what size area you're in. I'd probably imagine in a smaller area that people will answer a little bit more often because, there's a little less work. So they're going to answer every phone call. But even here, I've called tradesmen, not painters, but other drywallers, stuff like that, looking for people that help me out, and they don't answer. So one of the huge things is just always answer your phone. And then how do you answer your phone? What's your energy like? Because if you're monotone, if you have no energy when they're answering the phone, they don't want to talk to you. That's not exciting. That's a huge thing. And the big thing is, people are calling you because they need a problem. I mean, they have a problem that needs to be solved, right? So if you can basically just reassure them that you're there to solve their problem, then, you're moving a step forward for sure. So just answering the phone, ultimately, how you answer the phone, you got to have some good energy, stay positive. They're calling, most likely looking for some help. So you should be excited. And then, setting up for painters, like a lot of other trades, it's all, you got to check out the property most of the times, figure out what they're really looking for. So for me, a big thing in that sales process is how I set estimates up. Most painters, when they're going to a job site, they knock on the door. They're there. Let's say they're there for an exterior. They just knock on the door. They say, "Hey, I'm going to go take a look around." They maybe answer a couple questions, and then they go around, take their measurements, and then, they'll knock on the door and say, "Hey, all right, I'll send this to you in a couple days or whatever." Versus what I like to do is, I'll tell them, "Hey, I like to set this up an hour to hour and a half blocks. So, I like to have both people on board because when people get a painting estimate, sometimes they've never gotten one before. So they don't really know what to expect a lot of times. So it's like, well, kind of set the stage, set the expectation, and, let them know, like, hey, when I get there, I'm going to come in, this isn't exactly what I say, but it's, basically like, we're going to set this up for an hour to an hour and a half. I'd like all the decision makers there if possible. It's a big investment, because I'm sure a lot of people have sold the job or, things are looking really good, but the other spouse comes home and they're not on board and you didn't even know that they never even talked about it. Maybe they had a painter over and they didn't even tell the husband they were thinking about getting a paint job or the wife.
All right.
So it's very important to have both sides on board. I mean, because the sales process was a spot that I knew that I could, my sales rate was good, but I knew it could have improved. It's setting that expectation, getting all the decision makers on board, and doing a detailed estimate. Walking around, showing them what's wrong, how that happened, what's going to happen if they don't get it fixed, how we're going to resolve it. The quality of products we're going to use. And then, because, you're kind of, with all of that, you're really kind of setting the stage that, you're a little bit different, because I've gotten estimates before where guys, they're like, yeah, you're the fourth painter we've called and you're the only one that answered. Or they're like, yeah, this guy came and spent an hour with us and He said he was going to send us an estimate, and that was a week ago. You know, so there's people that not even getting back to him. And then, if you tell them you're going to send them the estimate tomorrow or that evening, send it to them. Let them know you're for real, that you're there to help them out. You're there to be in business. You're not there to just kind of be monkeying around, just trying to look good. So the
Yeah.
big thing is,
Yeah,
just
that's a good,
sales process.
yeah, that's a good point you made at the end too. Like I remember in my service company, as much as I wanted to get somebody an estimate in maybe a day or two, I knew that I wouldn't have it to them until maybe like Friday. So I would just, I wouldn't shoot myself in the foot by over promising. I'd just be realistic with them and be like, I'm going to get this to you as soon as possible. And I would give myself the time I knew I needed versus being like, oh yeah, I'll get it to you by tomorrow, knowing that I probably wouldn't. And then that doesn't set a good stage for you. But great advice on that. I do want to open this up to you here shortly, but I did want to touch you on some of the stuff you were talking about with marketing. You said that you had done SEO, which, is a great long-term strategy for helping your clients find you. You said that's been really good. Referrals, community marketing. You said early in our conversation, you started with Angie's and Home Advisor, but have kind of moved away from that. What's kind of been your strategy, or what have you found to work well with what you're doing now as far as marketing?
What's working well right now is, it's the slow season, and a lot of companies, when they're seasonal like this, the winter time is when they're, the cash flow is not as much. The business account is a little bit lower for a lot of companies. So that being the case, kind of going into this year, I basically just, I was thinking like, well, what is going to be my best, what's the best thing I can do for my time to get the best return, right? And being that there's not as much cash flow and jobs coming through right now for painters, door to door. That's a huge thing that I'm doing right now. Now, I don't do that all year round. It's probably something that as we grow, because it is so, it is really effective, because there's only a couple, there's, like usually you think of like security companies, maybe internet companies, cable companies, solar companies,
Yeah.
roofing companies that do a lot of that. And that's some of their main sources, but it works great for painters. It's pretty easy. You can see a lot of what you need to see from the outside. And that's, if stuff's chipping and peeling and, bubbling up, you can knock on the door and just point it out. And there you go. Like they might not want to give out information or give you a lead, but, at least they know or they're aware. So doing a lot of door to door with door flyers, and then door flyers in general. If you're at a job site, I've heard it called several different things, but I like the H marketing, when you're at a job site and you get some door flyers, go to the 5 houses to the left of your job, go to the 5 houses to the right of your job, and then do the 10 across the street. Either knock on those doors if you want, or just leave door flyers. Another one is just lawn signs, keeping lawn signs out to make yourself recognized. And this is at the job site, interior and exterior. If you're working at the house, obviously with the customer's permission, interior, exterior doesn't matter. We'll put a lawn sign out there. I try to do the strategy because I've got a bunch of lawn signs of going around my town. Depends on where you live, because I went and put out like 10 lawn signs in my town, and about 3 days later, I got a call from the city telling me to pick them up or I was going to get some fines. But I know it's different for everybody, wherever you are, because I've heard great stories where people, all they do is lawn signs, and that's their main source of marketing. So there's
Interesting.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the referrals are great, always asking for reviews. So then that kind of helps boost with the SEO. And then, yeah, Google's great. So every now and again, I'll turn on the pay per lead services that you mentioned. There's several ones out there. They all perform differently. Quality of leads could be questionable. So, if you got some money to kind of, chuck at the wall and see what works, then those are great. And then I think this year I'm really going to kind of hammer out doing some Facebook and actual Google ads. here this year as we kind of start picking up in business. And then I've got a little bit more funds for the marketing.
Nice. Yeah. And now that you've got, like you said, you've got a mentor and they help you with your sales, because even if you're getting a bunch of leads coming in, you want to be able to close those leads.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that H marketing, or I've heard it called six-pack marketing, I believe that's underutilized for a lot of companies. And I think that can be very effective. And especially in the wintertime, if you're doing a bunch of interior work, nobody really knows you're there unless you got something on the side of your truck or your trailer and they can kind of see what's going on.
Right.
So that's a great strategy to have as far as non-digital marketing. So that's really cool. I would encourage anybody watching this, you guys try it out, get some flyers printed off door hangers, printed off on Vistaprint. I've heard it's even better if you have your face or your team. They can see who you are on there and a little bit about yourself, what you're doing. Just kind of go hang them around, like I said, 10 across the street, 10 next to you. And I bet you'll get some calls in your CRM to start to, oh yeah, that street keeps coming up. Well, it's because you hit up all the houses on that street.
Right.
Cool. So as you scale, what systems or tools are really making a big difference in streamlining your business?
And this year, or I guess it was last year, it'll be almost a year that I've had it, but I subscribed to an estimating software. This one, there's a lot of good ones out there, but the one I particularly use is just for painters. So that's really helped speed up my estimates, not to mention makes them way more presentable. I had a decent estimating system and, sheet and all that I'd send to my clients when I was done. But this program, it's called Paint Scout. It makes it so easy, and it's made only for painters. It's tailored for painters. So that's really nice. And it's a world of difference on how much professional it looks. I'm able to send out these estimates. First of all, it makes them go a little bit faster. Now I will say with a caveat, I am still kind of tweaking and figuring out my estimating process, because I need to get it to a point to where someone who's never painted before can go in and plug in some numbers and then get a bid, some numbers that we're going to profit on that, right? We're going to make some money. Because right now, I still do a little bit, being a painter. I know how long things take. I know what goes into everything. So I think I'm still a little bit biased with that, because I'll still kind of do it my old way, which I know even still there's a lot of painters that, lick their finger and put it in the air and, throw some graphs in the air and kind of see where things go, That there's a lot of people that still do that. They could be in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, and there's people that still do that. So I'm trying to streamline it to where it's just way more of a system, to where you could be some kid who's, you're even if you're just a marketing major or something like that, and you take a summer job or whatever, and you want to do some sales, where you can come in and, you can go to a house without never having painted before and put in the correct info, and you'll have it spit out a better, a profitable price. So the estimating software has been huge. That's been really great. Another one that I used for a little bit, I'm probably going to go back to using them, is I believe it's called Nice Job, but it's to help me get reviews. So I can send links to my customers when I'm finished with the job. I can take pictures with the job, attach them, and, I can just text them a link on their phone as we're closing things out. Hey, if you don't mind, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a review, tell them something like that. And then I'll physically, I'd send them the link, so that now I'm looking at my phone and they're looking at their phone and they have the link right there. So I know they got it. So the chances of them leaving that review are a little bit higher. Versus, what I used to do is just ask them and, hey, yeah, I'll send you the link, and then I forget or something comes up. So those have been two really, really big things that have kind of helped me. The Paint Spout has been really great. The review platform, that works out well, being it's the slower part of the season. I don't have them right now, but I'm going to resubscribe. I just basically turned off my subscription for like 2-3 months. So I'm going to be going back to doing that. Those two things have been really good. And I'm trying to think, what else have I done? I think those have been the ones that have probably made the biggest impact for right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Those sound great. Reviews are huge. And then what you had talked about with having a system or a process where you're not throwing grass in the air and checking which way the wind is going to do these estimates. Oh, I know, yeah, this wall takes this long or that. Well, that's really hard to teach, which means it's really hard to scale your business, which means your goal of being acquired down the road by getting those employees and having that as your long-term goal, you need to have a process that is trainable and teachable, like you said, to somebody who could just come in off the street and be like, here it is. You don't have to have any knowledge, just do X, Y, Z and punch those in here and everything comes out and they can do that. That's a scalable system versus the alternative, and then the alternative is that you will always be the person doing the estimates because you can't teach it and you don't know how to teach it and you don't even really know what you're coming up with. And maybe you're checking your numbers after the job and being like, oh yeah, we're getting the percentage we want. But again, it's hard to train that. It's hard to teach that. No, this has been a great conversation so far. I really appreciate you sharing insights. So now I want to shift gears a little and open the floor to you. So what's something that's top of mind for you right now? Maybe, a new project, a challenge you're tackling, topic you think the audience would benefit from hearing about. Why don't you take the floor and share what you'd like with us?
Yeah, sure. So we're kind of getting out of that, where it's February and where I am here in Colorado. It is a fairly warm climate, but we're still kind of in the 30s. Exterior season's not quite here yet. So being that it's a little bit slower, we're just doing, like I said, we're doing a lot of door marketing, door to door. But another thing I kind of wanted to touch on that I think is really important that I'm, really making a point to do a lot more of this year is reaching out to influencers. By influencers, I'm basically meaning any other kind of company or individual who is constantly in front of the people that I want to work for. So for instance, remediation companies, they're always remodeling something and, it's fire damage, it's water damage, stuff like that. Those kinds of companies are constantly, they need a painter, they need someone to go to because they're constantly dealing with that kind of stuff. So companies like that, another set of companies that I recently just sent a bunch of emails out to. And this is just, I'm basically just kind of sending out introduction emails, and saying who I am, saying who we are, what we do, and seeing if they'd even be open to a conversation of possible collaboration. So
What kind of responses have you been getting on those emails?
I haven't gotten many back. Like I said, I'm starting to do a lot more of that. Last year, people they're at least down to have a conversation, and that's what matters. It's kind of just getting your foot in the door. So I did interior designers were the last group of companies that I kind of reached out to and hit up here in our town. And, these are people that do high-end remodeling and stuff like that. And they do a lot of interior work. So it'd be kind of cool to get into, get that in with some of these kinds of companies so that, we're their go-to painters. And these are easy, it's kind of low-hanging fruit, as I've heard say, quote unquote, because it's things that they just take a little bit of time and effort to do. So that's been a big thing.
Have you,
Go ahead. Yeah.
have you reached out to like residential home builders or who are you kind of targeting? Like you were saying, designers,
Designers, remediation companies. There's a couple different ADU companies out here that they primarily do ADUs, which are, additional dwelling units, but they're all usually pretty small. They're not really the sizes of homes. I have done some new construction, but it's all right. I think I'll grow into doing a little bit more of that, but we really like to niche. My niche is residential repaints, interior, exterior, staining, So I have done new build stuff, but I don't enjoy it as much. It's a different kind of painter, more production kind of style. And out here, maybe it's the same everywhere, but they're usually looking for the cheapest guy, maybe not the highest quality, but they're looking for the cheapest people. So I haven't really reached out to a lot of builders for that reason, but I have had builders who do primarily high-end work reach out to me. So I'm building those relationships right now. I've been doing some work for people who, they're just builders who do great work. They do high quality work, and they're never looking for the cheapest bidder. So those are kind of the companies that I'm slowly trying to get my foot in the door with, which has been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
mean, early in the business, an easy thing to do is, going to property management companies, just making yourself known. Property management companies are big, real estate companies, because most people, when they're buying or selling, either need to paint the house to sell it, or they want to paint it a couple years down the road, or they want to paint it right when they get in, because so many people don't like, the little things in their house. And yeah, so stuff like companies like that, I think are big influencers, and they're, low hanging fruit, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's really great advice. And networking, in my experience too, is huge. Never neglect networking opportunities. Always reaching out to the people in your industry, like you said, property managers, real estate owners, real estate investors, whatever it may be. You never know. That's a great place to get your company in front of. And then the referral goes from person to person. Do you have any kind of like actual referral system in place or something along those lines?
I mean, if I ever I guess it's not like written, but if I ever do get a referral and I get the job, then I'm giving out gift cards for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess technically like a legit system, I wouldn't say I do at the moment. That's something that I know I need to build and kind of grow on. But yeah, I mean, if any referrals, I'm definitely giving out gift cards, stuff like that. Just to, it's just a thank you. And I think a lot of that just goes with too, just by me having a focus on just overall customer service, and then the customer's experience. I mean, even a 5-star review, after a certain point, it kind of gets to be a little much, but even 5-star reviews, I'll be giving out gift cards as well, because that's huge. That helps.
That's really cool. That's really cool that you do that. I can't say that I've really ever done that. So kudos to you for doing that, Hugo.
Yeah, it's a start. It's a start. So we're trying to get somewhere.
Cool. Are there other kind of nuanced things that you've discovered over the years that might be good to share with the audience that you found really helpful, or just overall, what kind of advice could you give? You've given a ton of advice, and it's been really good. I'm just trying to squeeze as much out of you as I can, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think like like I said, our niche is residential repaints, interior and exterior with staining. But I mean, other than delivering a high quality paint or stain project that, our customers are going to be happy with, that's, we're trying to bring their vision to life. What we really try to focus on and make a point to is, just overall the customer experience and a customer service. Everyone says that that's what they want to do well, but in the trades, you really got to set yourself apart, because there's a lot of not so good people who are making a lot of money. And by not good people, I mean they don't they don't spend as much time trying to create that experience for the customer. They'll have a decently good, well done project, but they're ready to go on to the next one. They're ready to go on to the next one, or they put things off when if something happens and you got to send guys back, they'll put that stuff off or something. So, I mean, we really just try to focus on
So
the
how do you
customer.
separate yourself? How do you set yourself apart from them and your vision of what that should look?
Well, here in my town, man, I mean, showing up on time, answering the phone, communicating communicating with them every day of the job so they know what's happening. Just treating them like a family member or a friend, and the big thing is just ultimately communication is huge. If you notice something that isn't a part of the scope of work, if it's going to take you less than 10 minutes to do, go ahead and do it. If there's a couple like that, maybe let the customer know, hey, you guys, we did this and this. I know that wasn't on the scope, but we just wanted to take care of that for you. It's just, a bunch of little things that we try to do, but you'd be surprised how much just answering your phone and good communication, how far that'll actually go. Because the thing is, let's say a hiccup happens on the job, which happens all the time for everybody. Something comes up that maybe, you guys weren't expecting, or it's a little bit more work than was expected, or, in my instance, let's say we're scraping an exterior of a home and it ends up being, way more work than, because sometimes you can't tell until you're actually doing it. So, you have these initial discussions, you have all these terms set in place, you've got your prices and stuff already set. But if you're having great communication throughout the entire process and something comes up that's unexpected and you kind of bring that to their attention, everything goes by smoother. If a mistake happens, something gets messed up, something breaks, I'm not going to lie, I've broken tons of lawn ornaments, sprinkler heads, stuff like that, random things working. But if you have that communication, you've built that trust. First, trust starts from, this all literally is starting from the initial phone call. They call you, you answer, you show up when you say you're going to show up. I show up early. I'll sit outside their house. I want them to see me sitting outside their house for 5 or 10 minutes because they know I'm there. So there you go. You've got trust established there. You get more trust established when you sit down with them and talk to them rather than just say, hey, I'm here to do the estimate. I'll be back with you in a second. You're building trust there. You build that rapport when, we're working on people's homes. A lot of times it's their personal homes. They spend a lot of money and they love their homes and they spend a lot of money on them. So I like to get in there, and instead of just being the guy who's trying to sell them a paint job, I like to talk to him like a human being. We have a conversation. We figure out what we've got in common, just stuff like that. Sports teams, activities, being in Colorado, pretty much everyone likes to, ski, snowboard, hike, camp, stuff like that. So we talk about that. We build the trust there. I send the estimate when I say I'm going to send it. There's trust built there. And then another thing is, and this is all before the job is started. So we're slowly stacking up the trust. And then let's say, like, for right now, a lot of what I'm doing is, I've heard it referred to as mind the gap. I've got a bunch, it's too cold for exterior work right now. So I've got work booked for March and April that I've got deposits on. I've got people committed to working with me. So what am I doing is I'm reaching out every week and a half, every 2 weeks, just to let them know where we're at. Hey, it's Hugo, just kind of, I'm basically just letting them know what's going on with me right now and let them know we're excited to start their project. So then if you're constantly doing that, you're building up this trust. And then by the time the job starts, they love you, and then on top of that, you're giving them daily feedback, daily progress on what's happening. So that's a huge thing too. And then, by the end of it, even if you did deliver a decent paint job, they'll love you. And, a lot of times, it hasn't really happened to me where I've gotten tons of callbacks, but I've heard many stories, listening to podcasts and videos and stuff like that. Other people that I want to be like is, they've done everything right. And there was a hiccup on the job, but they fixed the hiccup and the customer likes them even more. Sometimes if you just own that mistake, that they like you even more. They just absolutely love you and they'll sing your praises and still give you those 5 stars. Because it's not, most people, they want the experience and they want a good product ultimately, yes. But nobody wants to work with somebody that they don't like. If they buy from you because they buy from us because they know us, they like us, and they trust us. And that trust is huge because, like I said, if anything comes up, it just makes everything smooth over. And it's being genuine. This isn't a ploy for anything. It's like this, we're taking care of them. And this is a business. This is how I put food on the table for my family. So I'm not faking it. I'm not joking. I'm not messing around. It's like, this is how we do it. And we just treat them like, normal human beings and give them the respect they deserve.
Yeah. That's good, man. Dropping bombs. I love it. You're absolutely right. I would agree with everything you said, building that trust from the initial phone call and working through that process before you ever, before you even send the estimate, before you even get on the job.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it where, and ask yourself this, if you've got 3 estimates from, you've met with 3 contractors, 3 painters for painting your house, let's say, and the guy that really stood out is the guy that you had the best rapport with. You've built that trust, but their estimates maybe $2 or $3 grand more than the others. I have experienced and know that they are still more likely to go with you, even though you're more expensive, because you've set yourself apart from the other competition. So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
trust goes such a long ways, just and long term too. Next time they need something or their friend comes over, yeah, I'm looking at, oh yeah, call these guys, they're great. Absolutely. That's great advice. Anything else you would like to touch on before we call it a day?
Not really. I mean, I think we've covered a lot, but yeah, I mean, just that customer experience, treating people well, delivering on what you say you're going to deliver. And, I'm a man of my word. That's how my dad raised me. So just making sure that you're really putting your best foot forward for your clients, because that's huge. And, I want to bring, I want to help bring a little bit more respect back to the trades. That's a huge thing. I see that's what you're doing too, Zach, with this podcast, is helping educate people. And, there's a lot of great podcasts out there, but I think the trades end up getting a bad rap. And there's a lot of okay companies out there that are making a lot of money. So I think if you're able to, I want to help try to raise that bar, not just for myself, but for, all kinds of different, labor businesses, stuff like that. So just, yeah, I mean, treating your customers like family, and really delivering the high quality product that you can, and, just really committing to what you're doing. It's huge.
I agree, man. That's great. Awesome. This has been a great conversation. Hugo, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your story, your insights with us today. Before we wrap up, where can people connect with you or learn more about Top Choice Paint and Stain?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So I've got a website, and that is topchoicepaintandstain.com. I'm also on Facebook, so you can just type in Top Choice Paint and Stain there. And then I'm also on Instagram, and that is at TC as in Tomcat, at TC Paint and Stain. And you should be able to find everything you need there. You could be able to get a hold of me. Anyone who wants to set up an estimate, or even just, call, email me, or whatever. We can talk business. That works. I'm always looking to connect with like-minded individuals, no matter what stage of business we're in. We're fighting the same fight. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where most people can get a hold of me, on those 3 different platforms there.
And for our listeners, if you got value from this, make sure to subscribe. If you're a trades business owner looking to scale, connect with us at UpScale Media. We'd love to help. Thanks again, Hugo, and thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, keep building, keep scaling, and keep crushing it in the trade.
Hey, Zach, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.